All right, so with the light kits that come to you with Cronkite, you'll get this, you'll get 2 stands and then 2 lights, and typically you'll get one with just a plastic diffuser on it, no barn doors. And then this one, fold this up so I'll show you how it will look. So typically it'll look like this, okay? Now, you unfold it, and you have your barn doors. Now, you can hook these based on how wide you want your sides to go out. You can also kind of bring them up top, just however you need to adjust them. I would suggest keeping them in place so they don't block the light, and it's just a matter of kind of hooking. There are some hooks here, and you just kind of have to be a little bit smarter than the barn doors at times. But for this is really helpful. This will be on your key light. And the barn doors help that you can point where you want the light to go. So if you have it a bit higher, which is predominantly where you want it kind of a 25 to 40 degree angle down, you can push these barn doors down, maybe even have to bring out the sides a little bit to help angle it down, but then all of a sudden your light's going down like this rather than just straight out. So you can kind of manipulate it however you need it. Now, those are the lights on the back. You'll see you'll have 2 batteries. I believe you only need to have 1 in there to turn it on, and then 2 dials here. You'll have the, we'll flip it around. You'll have the percentage, the brightness, and then color as well. You can see it kind of turn blue to orange on that. Okay, so with the stands, how these look, now you can start pulling and they aren't really gonna go, it's not really gonna go anywhere. So this bottom screw here, loosen that up, and then it will come down like this, okay? So it'll flip down like this, and you can have it quite tall if you want, or wide. There's a screw right here. Again, bottom screw, screw it, tighten it back, and then bring it up. Kind of like with the tripods, I would bring it up to about chest level, put the light on, and then if you need to bring it taller, then do it that way. But that way you're not trying to put a light up tall, very high center of gravity. Things can drop, things aren't completely hooked in. This way you know it's sturdy, and then you can bring it up that way. So for the key lights, like I said, you want it angled down wherever your interview subject is, whether they're standing or sitting, 20 to 40 degrees above. And then for the backlight, it's kind of a guess and check. I would say have it about head level for them, maybe a touch above, probably a touch above, just that way you can get some light without it really hammering home. But we'll see some examples. I'm going to show you, we set up our living room again with a light kit, and then what it's like to then frame someone sitting down, making sure the light is hitting them properly. All right, guys, so I just wanted to show you what the setup looks like for 2-point lighting. So we have our camera right here. We have our interview chair right here, plenty of space between the camera, plenty of space between the back wall that will help the backlight have a little bit of space so it's not too hot. We have our key light right here. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stand right here. It's called a reporter sandwich because you're standing in between your camera and the light. Now you wanna keep this light pretty close to you, and I'll show you why here in a second when we have our model sit in. But we have the microphone set up above. Everything's already all set up. Now the key here with your key light and your backlight also can be called a hair light. There's been a couple different names for it, but you want to make sure that they are lined up where they will pretty much shine into each other. And it'll be off camera here, so you won't see any lens flare, anything like that. Now, as we go back to the backlight, this will be out of the shot, and this is gonna illuminate the back of your interview subject's head. It helps pop them away from the background. And this isn't the best background, again, we've gone over this before, but I just wanted to show you guys kind of the setup of how to utilize this. So with this, you know, Cronkite may give you lights where there are barn doors on here. These are all adjustable, so you can make it wider, make it tighter, that sort of thing. So with the key light, what you want it is you want it a little bit higher than your interview subject and pointed down, like a 20 to 40 degree angle where it's down. And I'll have some illustrations for you guys on that. That way you can make sure that it's hitting their face kind of properly across the board. You aren't seeing too much shadow and that sort of thing. And again, it's just coming down. You can see kind of the twinkle in their eyes. That's what Isaac Easley always says, one of our fellow videography professors. This one will be, again, aimed towards the back of their head, so it'll be about that height for a seated interview. But again, the key here is you're getting depth of field set up, because you have the camera with plenty of space to the chair, your light has plenty of space between itself and the chair, and then your background has that much more space. You don't want it backed up against the wall. You really want to try to avoid that if you can, if you have the space. There will be times you'll use a backlight, maybe from behind. You know, a lot of times there can be light setups where it's over top like this, but those are pretty hardcore, like, you know, production company type setups. Obviously, we're using this for a microphone that can't support a full light. You wouldn't want to put a light above an interview subject's head on something that isn't as stable. You know, literally with production companies, a lot of times they'll put like sandbags at the bottom of the tripods to make sure that they're stable and that sort of thing. But the main thing is you really want it close to the camera so it's fully illuminated and lines up well. Again, you can see it pointed here, and it lines up well to the backlight. Now, if there is a 3-camera setup, and you may utilize this at some point, you would put it probably right around here, and it is properly called a fill light, because that fills the rest of the shot with light. Now, you can adjust it accordingly. You can have lights on in the background, lights, you know, adjust. It's a lot of kind of, not guessing and checking, but you're making adjustments constantly. So that's why you want to show up for a lighted interview, a lit interview. You want to do it early. Now I want to show you the back of these lights here. You pop it on. There are 2 separate things you need to pay attention to. One, here's the brightness. So we have it at 24%. You can adjust it however you know, light or dark you need. The other thing is the color. So this is more of a blue color, and you can adjust it as you turn it down. You'll see it kind of turn more to an orange, that sort of thing. Now, depending on what your white balance is here, and you can go to the menu here. It's under display set, I believe. No. Camera set. And then WB preset, you have indoor. The temp set, it may be set to something here, it's set to 5,000. So if we want it to kind of match what we're looking for, or what it is, you go to the color and go to 5,000. Now, I have a white piece of paper sitting on the chair because once you light everything, I'm going to turn this off right now. Once you light everything, you want to read white balance. You know, you want to make sure, if you light balance how it is right now, this is kind of more of a orangey glow. It's obviously not ideal, but you pop lights on all of a sudden, you're going to want to read white balance so it can adjust properly. It's almost like going from inside to outside. So that's how you kind of make those adjustments. Again, this is the setup. We are going to now cut to our model, Sarah Cazell, and here she is. We are going to cut to how to now frame the shot and make adjustments accordingly. All right, guys, so now we have our wonderful model, Sarah Cazell. So this is how it's set up with just straight up lights. Obviously, we don't have a ton of lights in our apartment, but this is how we can kind of transform it, but obviously very dark. So to start with, let's just kick on our key light. Right now I have that at about 41%. I'm going to turn on the backlight as well. Pop these guys off. So you can already see how much that has changed. Now, obviously, we have the backlight in our shot, so we want to adjust that. And again, we're going to frame this up. Focus on the eyes. All right, and we have our rule of thirds. Again, this isn't the most compelling of backgrounds, but you can see there's a depth of field, and there's also, we're in our rule of thirds, and you're seeing light come off the back of her now. So I'm just turning up the key light just a touch. Now you can kind of see, we're going to move that backlight just a little bit because you can see it kind of hitting the side of her head a little bit. So let's just move this over to its right now. All right, so brought that a little bit in, and I'm going to adjust the key light just a little bit. I'm actually going to bring down the backlight just a touch. All right, so that, you kind of have to play around with it a little bit, but you saw at the beginning it was quite harsh on the side of her head. You can still see that light on the side of your head, which is what, on the side of her head, which is what you want. But it's just a little more subtle now. So this went from a very dark shot to now, again, like we went over last time with depth of field, you know what you're looking at now. You have your interview subject very well in focus, very well lit. In the background, if you wanted to pop that light on, you could. I would probably advise against that. But now once you have that set up, you can also go ahead and then white balance. And again, if you're comfortable with your interview subject, I would suggest doing that with them. So you go ahead and zoom in on that. We hit our white balance. Looks like it is all set to go. So again, frame that up and you can put that down, Sarah.
And specifically, it needs to be in front of the face.
Yeah, so yes, you need to put that in front of your interview subject's face. Obviously, with social distancing, they would be the ones to do that, not you. You wouldn't put your hand in front with the paper because the light isn't hitting that. But you can now see, again, how we have this framed up now. She has a little bit of headroom, so we have that room to work with in post if we need to bring it a little bit tighter, which I would suggest we would. You can do that, but again, it is a reporter sandwich. You have your key light to your left in this case. I am standing in the middle, and then to your right is the camera. But again, it is pretty close to where, it's pretty compact. When it starts, you start bringing things out here, that's when the light gets affected. Same goes for the camera. If you're a little bit away from the camera and she's now looking at me, all of a sudden you're getting kind of more of a profile. Again, with lighting, it can be a little bit more stylistic. If you want it to be a little bit more dramatic, yeah, you might turn this down a little bit. You might turn the backlight down a little bit. You might bring this out a little bit to try to catch some shadow. But in most cases, when you're just doing kind of a straight up interview, you want that highlight to be on the interview subject. You want to make sure that across the board, the light is going across their face and it's really highlighting them, and you have your key light and your backlight lined up correctly so that they can kind of balance off of each other. And again, if you have a third light, that would go on the other side of the camera, kind of where Sarah is looking right now. It would go right over here, and that would, it's called a fill light for a reason. It then fills the rest of the shot. But how this is with the two light setup, which is most of the time how you will be using your light kits, is kind of how you get that all set up. So once again, you then have your earbuds in, your mic testing, you're making sure everything sounds good. As you can see, to start, I'll zoom this out. We have our mic set up, we have our lights, but you can frame that up so it is out of your shot, and you have a really clean shot there. So as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email, and we can go over all the other workings of the camera and lighting.